Hey folks, and welcome back to West Yorkshire Retro Gamer. Today I just wanted to have a little look at the current Leeds squad and make an early thought on who should stay or go, basically. So in other words, keep them, sell them, release them if their contracts are where they're at, or loan them out to get more game time or experience. I've not included the very young players in the squad like James DeBeo, Sam Chambers, Harry Gray, etc., Charlie Crew. Um, these are all players that I believe need another loan, quite simply put. Darko JB, that's another one. He was already out on loan, just like Charlie Crew was. He probably needs another loan spell. Just trying to think who else, if there's anyone really. The likes of Joe Gallagher and Sam Greenwood, they probably need to be sold on now. They had loan spells for the entire, well, for either some or all of the season just gone. I don't think they're going to be, good enough for Leeds. And then the one senior player, the one proper senior player out of the bunch that's been out on loan is Jack Harrison. Again, I've not included him on the list. I think Leeds just need to sell him. It'll help with PSR. Even if we get maybe 3 to 5 million quid, just something to get him off the books and to ultimately bring a little bit of money in. His stock has dropped so much. He probably, we won't get the 10, 11, 12 million quid that we spent on him. So for those reasons, kind of like what we did with all of the other exiles, just get rid of him. He doesn't want to be at Leeds. His mum says he doesn't want to be at Leeds, which is a laughable subject in itself. So yeah, that's my take on those that are not included on the list. There may be one or two others, but they're the main ones. There's already been a release list of the young players that are leaving. Harry Christie, the goalkeeper, being one of them. Connor Ferguson, Kian Coleman. A lot of these are some of the kids that have reached 21 and are not likely to break into the first team, or maybe 20-year-old, and don't look likely to break through. So their contracts basically have run down, and they're not going to be offered professional deals or extensions to their current professional deals. Nothing against them, of course. They've all tried hard and they've all worked hard in the under-21s. So, wish them all well, and hopefully all the best ones go to Halifax Town. They're my home team. I support Leeds United, but I do wish all the best for Halifax Town, and if they could snap up some of those kids that have just left Leeds, I think they'd do very well down at National League level. So that's just my take on it. So this then leaves us with the current squad. Now, the first one which we can highlight as going is Josh Gilavogi. Josh only made 16 substitute appearances, and ultimately it was his experience that came into the squad when he did, when we had injuries to both Gruev and Ampadu. Great character, seems like an absolutely stand-up bloke and really professional, but he just had a bit of an aura about him. You could see the club love him, and his positive effect has been really helpful to young players like Wolf Nonto, Ladji Ramazani, Matteo Joseph. All these young guys. Isaac Schmidt maybe as well, maybe falls into that bracket, and Joshua has just been a fantastic example of someone you want in that squad, even if he don't play a lot. It's not always about your footballing ability. It's about what else you bring to the team and the squad and the club. It wouldn't have been on mega wages, and he was really humble about being part of Leeds United, and the fact that he's been able to celebrate a promotion. It goes on his playing CV. You know, he did play, not much, but he played. So nothing but all the very best to Joshua. I wish I'd have been able to meet him, honestly. Just always came across really cool guy. Like even on the player awards ceremony, uh, he was given the task of reading out the name of the young player of the year, and he goes, young player of the year, Joshua Gillibuggy. He's 34 years old. I love it. It was so humorous. You got everyone laughing with it. Which is brilliant. So, wish him all the very, very best. If anyone wants to bring in a player that's going to bring a ton of experience, a little bit of know-how, and someone that can really improve the mood in the dressing room, he's your man. And he ain't going to, he's not going to cost anyone mega bucks in terms of wages. Not at his age, he's probably only got a year or two left, I would think. But it'd be great for him to go into coaching. I think it'd be fantastic as a youth coach. Being able to bring on young players. And he's a giant and all. Like, he must be like 6'4", 6'5". He just looks huge when he was on the pitch. Pretty crazy. But yeah, so he was on the release list. What I'll do is I'll highlight Josh in red, just purely because we know he's gone, effectively. So this is where things get really difficult. I've not included Manor Solomon or Joe Rothwell because they were not our players. We had them both on loan. Now the club may well look to get Joe in for maybe £5 million, and they might look to get Manor in for maybe 15 million quid. But that's 20 million quid dropped then at that point out of maybe 120 million that we might have available to spend. So, again, the rumours are very variable in terms of what Leeds will be allowed to spend. It's anything from 100 million up to 150 to 200 million, dependent on the extra bits and bobs they can get in from either player sales or from additional revenues. They've adjusted the shares as well, which should bring in some extra revenue. In a couple of seasons' time, or 3 or 4 seasons' time, when the stadium expansion's complete, they'll be able to make it just in ticket sales. In terms of that extra revenue, and hopefully that'll be that they've continued to be in the Premier League. But in the meantime, that is that really. So let's have a look now. As I say, the Harrison deal will bring in a couple of million quid, and it'll get his wages off the books. That again helps with PSR. It'll give a little bit more availability because he won't have been on a small wage packet there, Harrison. So I'm sure that they will look to get rid. So I'm not going to do these in any particular order, but let's talk about a pair of fullbacks. We've got Sam Byram and Junior Firpo. Now Junior has, from an attacking point of view, been absolutely excellent. I think it was 4 goals and 11 assists that he got this season, which is superb for a fullback. Really, really good. 5 goals, I think it was, actually, come to think of it. It might have been maybe 11 or 12 assists. Whatever it was excellent. Really, really good. And also, that was only in 30 games, or 30 league games, I believe, because he did miss a portion of the season. So really good figures from an attacking point of view. However, his defensive numbers don't always add up. And this is an issue, because in the Premier League, our fullbacks are going to get tanked by the best wingers in the league. So they're going to have to be defensively. They've got to have some defensive nous about them. Junior did come out at one point and say that when he played in the Premier League with Leeds, he was dogged by injuries and illnesses, and he believed that this affected his performance on the pitch. I still think he lacks that yard of pace. I think they'll just skin him, quite frankly. All the quick ones, I think they'll just absolutely skin him. I mean, he is a bit older and a bit more experienced now. He is a full international player now with Dominican Republic. And he's very effective going forward, like really, really good. He linked up brilliant with Manor Solomon, really, really good stuff. And generally speaking, seems a really good bloke. Another one that's really good in the dressing room. Someone that he'll have a laugh and a joke with the players. He'll keep the spirits up, and it talks really well as well. Comes across really well. But Junior's out of contract now. As far as I'm aware, the club have put something on the table for him. The rumours are he's been given a very juicy offer. That's how they've worded it. Juicy offer, which I find a bit odd. They could have used different wording. But I just feel that Junior would be better suited in La Liga. I think the Premier League might just be a step too far. Sorry, I do apologise. I think I'm getting some irritation in my nose. I do apologise. It don't look great on camera, does it? But yeah. So as good as Junior's been these last couple of seasons, because he was good last season as well, I just think he's going to come up against better opposition this time. I just wonder if it's maybe a step too far. So for that reason, I'm going to mark Junior in red, but I do wish him the very, very best. I really do, because he's come to the fore these last couple of seasons, and especially this season just gone. Really, really good. But I think we just need something with a bit more defensive nous. Now, this is where Sam Byram comes into the mould. Now, I'm not saying that Sam is going to be good enough to be a starter every week in the Premier League, but Sam has played Premier League before. Very experienced now. I think he'll be 31 years old going into the new season, and he's just 7 out of 10 player. He doesn't have the offensive output that Junior has, but he's better defensively. He's very, very astute, is Sam, defensively. Still reasonable pace. He's not got blistering pace, but reads the game quite well. And I just think that Sam would be a very good, very useful backup. Again, his contract's up because they only offered him a 1-year deal continuously for the last 2 seasons because they didn't know about his fitness. He's proved his fitness now. Sam made 16 starts and 20 sub-appearances out of the 46 games. So, the fact that he's made 36 appearances in the league out of a 46 game season, that's really good for a player who has been dogged by injuries in the past. Knows the club inside out, and he's not going to be on mega bucks either, compared to some of the other players. For me, I'd keep him. I'd keep him as a backup fullback. I really would, because he'll do a job. It ain't going to be spectacular, but he's someone that you could just bring on just to give that little bit of calmness, that little bit of know-how, a bit of experience. So for me, if I'd put a contract on the table for Sam. I think he has mooted that he would like to sign. So for me, it's a bit of a no-brainer for me. Sam has to stay. So I'm marking Sam in green. I want Sam Byram to stay. Again, I don't see him as a starter. I think we need some better quality. Certainly in terms of the Farker style of being able to attack down the wing and to support the winger. But Sam's that kind of player that can just come on, shore things up a little bit, bring that bit of experience and calmness. So for me, Sam stays. It's just a case of whether they can give him a contract that he'll be happy with. Moving on to one of the fringe players, Max Verber. Max didn't play a lot this season. He was out injured a lot. Only made 2 starts and 6 sub appearances. He is a full Austrian international, and when we initially bought him, he actually looked reasonably decent. Whether he and he is versatile as well. Can play left full back or left centre back quite comfortably as well, and he's reasonably decent at full back considering he's built like a centre back really. And he did go some way to winning back the fans. After being one of the initial exiles, he didn't want to play and all this kind of thing. But I just think that because of the injury problems and because we need to free up some space to bring in some quality players. I think Max will be seen as surplus to requirements. As I say, this season, for the 8 appearances he made, I don't think he really let us down. I can't think of anything in particular. He even scored a goal. So, not a disaster for the small amount of time that he played this season. And again, seemed to have the right attitude when he came on the pitch. But I just think it's kind of a new chapter now in Leeds United. So for me, I think just to free up that space so that we can bring in someone even better. Verber will do a job, and could probably do a job at maybe anyone in the bottom half of the Premier League. Certainly as a squad player. But I just feel we're going to need a bit more than Max and what he can provide. So I'm going to say that we try and sell Max. For me, he's made up for what happened before. I mean, he's been so quiet this season. No one's heard a blip from him. You know what I mean? Like he hasn't done interviews or anything like that. He's just got on with trying to get on his fitness and try and improve things that way. So for me, I just think it's a new chapter. Move him on. But all the best to him if the club does move him on. But I think that if by moving Max on, we can get a new left-sided centre back or a new left-footed or left full back, left wing back, that kind of type of player. Yeah. So for me, Max would be out. This is where it gets a little tough. There's some very difficult decisions to make here. So let's stick with the ones that I definitely want to stay. Let's start with the two centre backs, Joe Rodon and Pascal Struijk. I mean, it's a no-brainer for both for me. For me, both stay. Whether both are good enough for Premier League, only time will tell. But for me, they both stay. They're a pair of units, simply put. They're both good on the ball as well, which is important when bringing it out from the back and being able to drive forward. You in the Premier League, you can't defend for 90 minutes. It'll be an onslaught, an absolute onslaught. So the likes of Joe and Pascal are more than capable of bringing the ball out. Pascal's played left back, as a backup left back before now, and Joe's just very comfortable bringing it out from the back as well. Do apologise, Kirby's decided she wants to feature. Yeah. So that goes down as a no-brainer for me. Both of those, I think, could do a job. Certainly against the weaker teams in the Premier League, which, I mean, when you say weaker teams in the Premier League, outside of the 3 teams that are going up, is there such a thing as a weak team in the Premier League? Probably not now, which is why the last 6 that have gone up have all come straight down again. This is something that Leeds obviously need to address to make sure it doesn't happen to them. So, so simply put, Joe and Pascal, very good partnership. Very, very good. So yeah, for me, it's no-brainer territory, really. Absolutely no-brainer territory. Um, any other no-brainer territory? Let's just have a look here quickly. Let's go with the two midfielders, Ethan Ampadu and Autanaka. Ethan's the club captain, so it goes without saying, really, there, doesn't it? You know, he has to stay. Very good player. You can tell the influence he has on the rest of the team. He's only still 24, I think. You know, he's relatively young for a captain, but very experienced for his age. Played all over the place, hasn't he? He's started, I think, originally at Exeter, which is where his dad, Kwame Ampadu, kind of resided originally, I believe. Could be wrong on that, but I think there's a connection there. Then got signed by Chelsea, had a couple of loan spells in Italy, a couple of loan spells in England, and then obviously got signed permanently by Leeds and was made club captain pretty swiftly on the departure of Liam Cooper. So, yeah, so that goes without saying. And then Autanaka, bought for 3 million from Dusseldorf, absolute steal. Has a little bit of everything, does Tanaka. A little bit of everything. He's not afraid to tackle, he's not afraid to shoot. So calm and comfortable on the ball, certainly at Championship level. This is obviously still to be seen at Premier League level. You know, can he cut it? You know, Dusseldorf were in the German second division. You know, they weren't even in the Bundesliga, so you know, you can't. You know, for as good as he was at that secondary level, we haven't seen him at the top level, and this is where it could change. He is a full Japanese international, and you know, a couple of the Asian teams like Japan and South Korea, some of the football they play is really good to watch when you watch their international teams. I really like watching South Korea and Japan. Those two countries play some very nice football, but very tidy, very intelligent play, and quite creative. You know, when going forward as well. So, you know, you look at the likes of Min Son. You know, at Spurs. You know, I mean, he's probably past his peak, but at his best, what a player. You know, and then Japan. I mean, oh God, I mean they've had some really good players in the past, haven't they? Nakata, I think, was one of them. Wasn't he? He was excellent, wasn't he? Back in the day. But yeah. So anyway, I digress a little bit. So for me, I think Tanaka will be. He's a bit like Rodon and Strauch. I think he'll be absolutely fine in the Premier League once he adapts to the division. And he might even get a little bit more space on the ball. Weirdly, not too sure why. I don't know. I've just got a bit of a feeling. You know, the Premier League's more creative and maybe slightly less physical, so that might suit Autanaka more. You know, he's had to come into a very physical environment in the Championship, and that tired him out. Like, he even admitted it himself towards the end of the season, with about 6 games to go. He came out and he was in tears after we won a match, and you know, Dan Farker said to him, "Why are you crying?" And he says, "I'm all out, boss. I'm done. I've just completely lost all energy." So it was just an emotional moment for the fella. I mean, he's in his mid-20s. You know, he's coming to the country for the first time. Had to adapt, and he's done so well. He's had a lovely season. Really, really good player. So now it's a case of him stepping up. Any other definites that I would keep? Dan James. Dan has improved his goal and assist output massively over the last 2 seasons. Again, admittedly at Championship level, but it's the starting point, isn't it? It's the kicker. It's the thing that just ignites that little bit of confidence in front of goal. He's had that chance to improve his finishing, improve his intelligence in terms of his decision making, and then the quality that comes with it. But the one thing that Dan James has that so many players don't is natural, raw pace. You can't teach pace, and Dan's got it in abundance. He will terrorise fullbacks. Any fullbacks in the Premier League that don't have that intelligence defensively, Dan will rip them a new one. He is that quick. But here's the thing: the quality of the defenders in the Premier League, a million times better. So this is now going to be the challenge for Dan. You know, the last 2 seasons he's had over 20 goal and assist output. You know, he could do the same again if he you know, if he plays every game and stays fit and don't get an injury and keeps that confidence. I mean, you know, this could be tailor made for Dan, but he needs to prove it at the top level now, and needs to use all of the experience that he's gained over the years, because he's not young anymore. People seem to think he's still like 22, 23. He ain't. He's at his peak years now. He's like 27 now, I think. So he really needs to kind of step up. But for me, you can't teach that pace, and pace will be a really good thing to have in the Premier League going forward, I think. So yeah, Dan for me stays. Couple of difficult ones now. This is where you start really having to look at what these players can bring to the table. Matteo Joseph, I'm going to put him in yellow. I think he needs a loan spell. I would loan him out. Oh, sugar. That's not what I'm after. Or is it? It might be. Hold on. Oh, that might be why. You got to highlight first. Right. Anyway, yeah. I would loan Matteo Joseph out. Young player. Got his first taste of senior football this season. Started as Leeds' first choice number 9. Lost that position to Joel Perreault partway through the season because he only ended up with a couple of goals. 3 goals. He got 12 starts, and they were all basically in the first half of the season. First quarter of the season, I think. I think he literally started every game at the start. But he only mustered 3 goals, and he made 27 sub appearances as well. And it's like, you know, if you're going to be the main number 9, you've got to have some confidence. You've got to have that quality. There's a player there, like without a shadow of a doubt. Matteo Joseph will be a very good player, but he needs time. You know, he's still only 21. Got loads of time, loads and loads of time. So for me, I would loan him out. Loan him out maybe in La Liga, maybe to a mid-table team. See how he gets on with that. Play regular. Try and get those goals and assists. And if you come back a better player at the end of the season, you know, you're not going to be spending 30, 40, 50 million on a new striker. You're going to have Matteo Joseph, and then he'll get his chance. Matteo might need 1 or 2 seasons on loan, just to really stamp his authority. So either to La Liga or to a top-end championship club in England to get that regular game time and to score a lot of goals. Just get your scoring boots on, Matteo, and show everyone what you can do. Apologise for the buzzing and the beeps. That's all going to happen again. I need to figure that out. So apologies on that one. I might just speed this video up a little bit now. Yeah, so for me, Matteo goes on loan. Now, this is where it gets a little bit awkward. Just solely for the wages that we would free up, and the opportunity to bring in a brand new number 9. He's been great for Leeds when he's been fully fit, but for me, I hate to say this because I actually like Patrick Bamford. I'm going to have to say, let him go. I think he'll be 31 going into the new season. He's by far from past it. Scored an absolute worldie in the cup against Peterborough. I mean, that goal is sublime. It's world class. It really is. It's a beautiful goal. And the 2 seasons that he had where he had his scoring boots on, and one of those was in the Premier League when we finished 9th, ended up with 17 goals that season. But we haven't got the same Patrick Bamford anymore. And as much as I like the guy, and as much as I think there is still a good striker there, we're going to need a really good, prolific number 9. For me, I'm not sure Patrick can do that now. Maybe Patrick gets a move to either Burnley or to Sunderland, to get one more crack in the Premier League. I think he wants another crack in the Premier League. But, he's had 17 substitute appearances, hasn't started a game this season, just gone and didn't score. So, very, very difficult for Patrick. He was behind both Pirro and Joseph, partially because of his injuries. And then when he got a chance, because I always think that he looked quite good when he came on, and there was towards the end of the season, he looked sharp. It looked like, he got his fitness back. He was hungry to get a goal. Was vitally unlucky. He got a goal chalked off for offside, and he wasn't offside. He was clearly onside by a mile. And if that goal stands, then he might have scored a couple more before the end of the season. I think that might have just reignited that little bit of confidence for him. But ultimately, he's still one of the biggest earners in the club. He was on 70 grand a week in the Prem. That got reduced to 35 in the Champ. That'll go back to 70 again now. And 70 grand a week is a lot of money that we can give to another player. And one that's going to be more prolific than Patrick. But I wish Patrick all the very best. If he does move on, I think the likes of Birmingham and Wrexham have been sniffing around, looking at possibly taking Bamford, for the new season in the Championship. And that might be a good move for him. He'll get good wages there, and he'll be their first choice number 9 as well. So, that might be the kind of route for Patrick, perhaps. But if he does go, I wish him the very, very best. I'll always remember that cup goal against Peterborough and the 17 goals that he got in the Premier League. He got a fantastic hat-trick against Aston Villa. That were class. That was a class hat-trick, that. Really, really good stuff. But it's so long ago now. That's the issue for Patrick. But yeah, that'd be my take on Bamford. You see, you've then got the likes of Largi Ramazani, Wilfred Nonto, Brendan Aronson, Isaac Smith, possibly Gruev. They're all of this early 20s kind of age range. And they all kind of bring a little bit of something a bit different to the squad. Joel Perreault is an awkward one. When he's on it, he is a finisher. He's a poacher. You get him in the right area in the box, he won't do much else. This is the problem. But I just wonder if in the Premier League, the style of play is a little different. He'll come up against far stronger defenders. But is it going to be against teams that play a bit more open? No team is going to park the bus against Leeds next season. Let's face that, right? Apart from maybe Burnley or Sunderland. But the rest ain't going to be afraid of Leeds. Not a chance. They're too established. The players are too good. So, that might just open up a couple of doors for Pirro if he plays. But again, the reason we're getting rid of Bamford is to bring in a brand new number 9, which would then relegate Pirro to second choice striker. So I'm going to say keep Pirro on, unless we can get 10 million quid for him, which is what we paid for him, to one of the Championship clubs, because he is a very good striker at Championship level. Proved that 2 seasons at Swansea, 2 seasons at Leeds. I think he's had 2 seasons at Leeds now. Lost count. So I'm going to say keep, but very much as a backup. Again, I'd probably say the same about Nonto and Ramazani. Both had good seasons without being amazingly spectacular, but they were good. But they're both young. 21 for Nonto, 23 for Ramazani, I think. There's a lot of potential there. So I'd say keep, but they are probably still going to have to be back up. They couldn't get past Dan James and Manor Solomon when both of those were fit. But when they came on, they're brilliant impact subs to bring on. They're young, they're hungry, they want to do well, they want to score goals and get assists, and they're pretty good on the ball. They are pretty good. Nonto's a full international. For Italy. Ramazani could probably get a Belgium cap if he keeps progressing, perhaps. So yeah, I think for me, they're not bad. Not bad at all, and a lot of potential still. They're still both young. Brendan Aronson, difficult one. For me, he'd be a backup. He'd be a backup 10. I mean, what did he get? Were it 10 goals? Well, he got 9 goals, and I think he got like another 3 or 4 assists or something. But he had 40. He started 43 games, so 9, 18, 27, 36, 45. It's not a lot, is it really, even for a number 10? So he is only still about 24, so he's got a couple more years to develop before he reaches his peak years. I think he's a useful backup. But again, Brendan might be on reasonably high wages because he was signed in the Premier League. But again, with him being young, maybe we can get back some of the 20 odd million that we spent on him. But then again, is his stock high enough for that? He is a full USA international. And at times looked very good. Like, in the championship looked very good. He was on a hot streak at one point. Got a lot of those 9 goals, like first half of the season. Really, really good, actually, to be honest. Really got himself back into the good books at Leeds fans. Would I go as far as loaning Aronson out, or would I keep him as a backup? Because we've got a lot of green here for keeping, but I think we need to sign a lot of good players. I think we are short on a few. So yeah, on that basis, do we loan Brendan out? But then are we going to sign 2 number 10s? I don't see it. I think we sign a number 10, and I think Brendan goes in as backup. So some of these greens will be backups. They're not going to be starters by any stretch. Similar with Isaac Schmidt. Schmidt never let us down when he came on. He never started a game. He did 12 sub appearances, but he looked lively. He looked quite good. I think there's a player there, and again, he's of a similar age mould to your Nontos and Ramazanis. So I'm going to say keep Schmidt. I think there's a player there. I just think he needs that little bit of time, a little bit of development. At the worst case scenario, loan him out to get a full season more of real good level competitive football, because he was playing in the Swiss league. Needs to be a top 5, top 5 Euro League or the English Championship. But to be as a first choice player, get that time in for me. But I like Schmidt. I like what for the little bits that we've seen of him. I think he could be a decent player. Gruev. Oh, Ilya Gruev. There is nothing fancy about what Ilya Gruev does on that pitch. He's very much no nonsense defensive midfielder, reasonable set piece taker. He was only bought for 5 million. bit of an unknown quantity when we got him. You know, all of the other signings that we made 2 seasons ago was, you know, everyone had pretty much heard of him, but Gruev was a bit of an unknown quantity. But he's done very well. Had a very good partnership with Ethan Ampadu at one point, you know, as the two number sixes. Such a tough one, this, because you know you'd like to see Ampadu and Tanaka really pushing to be in that first 11, but again we're gonna need more quality. And then it's like, do you drop your club captain or do you drop Tanaka? And then Gruev, I mean, you know, he's a full Bulgaria international. He's gonna want game time. This is such a tough one. He's not going to be on mega wages. He's an international player. And again, you know, play to his strengths. Just let him do the defensive midfield role. You know, whilst he sits in defensive midfield, the rest of the players can then push forward a little. You know, so that we don't sit too deep. I'm going to say keep as a backup, but he might be one of the saleable assets in the sense that he's still only got, I think he might be going into 25 age-wise going into the new season, but he would be a backup. Because I don't think he gets ahead of Ampadu and Tanaka, personally. That leaves the only other outfield player, Jayden Bogle. Very decent season. Again, a bit like Firpo. Really good attacking stats. 6 goals in 44 games for a right back. That ain't bad going, is it? You know, at any level. That's pretty decent. You know, 6, 12, 18, 24. It's about 1 goal every 6 games or thereabouts, isn't it, roughly? You know, quite energetic, very happy to run with the ball going forward. I just think he lacks that little bit of defensive nous and he will get roasted. I don't think he has the defensive capabilities. So Jayden Bogle. What do we do with Jayden Bogle? For me, I'd keep him as a backup. I mean, again, he's going to want to stay to try and prove himself at Premier League level. But I just feel like, you know, something needs to be done there. The club needs to make a decision what they're going to do with the fullbacks. We're going to need quality in the defensive areas in particular, because we're going to get mullered in the Premier League. You know, we need quality. You know, if Firpo, Verba, Gilavogi and Bamford leave the club, there's some valuable wage space that's freed up there. And again, if Mattio's loaned out, if whichever club takes on Mattio's wages, Mattio's not going to be on huge bucks compared to some of the other squad members. You know, if we bring in a really good quality striker, it might be that both Bamford and Pirro go, possibly. Do the likes of Nonto or Ramazani get loaned out? Possibly, because there's still a future there. Maybe even Aronson. Does Gruev go? You know, do we try and make a profit because we only bought him for 5 million? He should have a decent stock. Could we get maybe 8 million for him? Possibly. At least the 5 that we bought him for. You know, we could loan Schmidt out and then maybe get a new fullback in, or 2 new fullbacks if Firpo goes. I don't know. It's a very tough one. Some of these greens, I don't think stay. I'd like them to, but I think some of these greens have to go, because I don't think we're going to have the wage structure to be able to bring in enough quality. We've got to stay within PSR. But I think to do that, we have to get some more of these players off the wage books. I mean, Patrick's wages are going to be 70 grand. Getting that off the book will be vital. Junior's going to be on solid wages. He's going to be on 40 grand a week, I think, probably. So that's 110 off the books. Verba, he won't have come in on the cheap. He's probably on at least 30. So that's then 140 grand a week removed. Gilavoge, he probably came in on maybe 10 grand a week, to be honest. He wouldn't have been on mega bucks. So you're looking at about 150 grand. With those 4 players, you're looking at about 150 grand a week that comes off the wage bill. That then frees up maybe 2 Premier League quality players. You know, you get 4 off the books, bring 2 in, you know, and that quality comes in. You know, the likes of Rodrigo Moreno and Rafinha, you know, they were on like 90 grand a week, those boys. You know, they were on top dollar. You know, I mean, I think that the wage structure at Leeds is going to have to stay where every player is under 100 grand a week, to be honest. You know, which in the current market, you know, with the wages that players in the established clubs are on at the moment, you know, half of their squad are on 100 or more. You know, but this is where Leeds are at the minute. So on to the 3 goalkeepers now. This is where it gets very tricky because Alex Cairns never played a game. Very good in the dressing room. You know, he knows the club inside out. He came through the Leeds Academy. He's in his early 30s. He'd be very suitable just as a backup, nothing more, and he ain't going to be on mega bucks. So I'd keep Cairns as 3rd choice. The only reason I could think of him leaving is that he wants first team games, but I mean, he left Salford, where he was getting first team games, to come and play for Leeds. And he knew he wasn't going to get first team games, he knew he was going to be 3rd choice. So for me, we keep Cairns because again, he's low wages, he's low risk, and still good in the dressing room, you know, keeps those good vibes going. So I keep Cairns. Darlow, you see, I always had my doubts about Darlow, and then when he came in at the end of last season, he provided a very calm head, very, very good possession of the ball, you know, caught crosses and set pieces that came in rather than punching them. I always thought he was a bit dodgy after a couple of dodgy cup performances that he had. But he possibly made the difference for Leeds going into the final 7 games of the season. So, and he has made himself a full Wales international, you know, with that kind of form. So again, I'd possibly keep Darlow as a backup, and then the enigma, the conundrum, Mr. Ellen Meslier. Unlike a lot of people that aren't a fan of Meslier, I think he's going to be a quality keeper, but he needs to be coached right. I think he has been coached dreadfully, and this has knackered his confidence up. I think there's a really good goalkeeper in Meslier, but he needs to prove it. This might be a bit left field. I'm going to say, because if you look at Darlow and Cairns, they're both in the 30s, and neither of them are good enough to be number 1 goalkeepers in the Premier League, in my opinion. Both of them would do a job in the Championship, but not in the PL. So, I'm going to do a bit of a left field move here for Ellen Meslier. I'm going to say, loan him out. Needs to be first choice wherever he goes, whether it be a Championship club, maybe a team in League One, as in French League One, Ligue 1. You know, make him first choice. You know, if Sunderland lose Patterson, maybe Labris would take him on at Sunderland, perhaps. You know, which might be a little bit of an iffy move because obviously it's a team that Leeds would be rivaling against. But again, they put a clause in the contract saying that obviously Meslier can't play against his parent club. But I think there's a future France goalkeeper there. I really do. If he can be coached right and if he can get that confidence, you know, to just be that more solid, when Melier's looked good, he's looked very good. He needs to cut out the errors. If he can cut out the unforced errors, I think there's a goalkeeper there. He's still only 25. Goalkeepers don't peak till 30. I reckon you get Melier sent out on loan where he can continuously play first team games like he has been doing at Leeds, loan him out, and then bring him back a better goalkeeper. Because again, like, your two most important positions are goalkeeper and number 9 striker. You get those two right and you're cruising. Now, I think Leeds will go for someone like Nick Pope, who has got all that abundance of experience. But Pope ain't going to be around forever. His peak years are probably right now. So even if we get Pope in for one season, we might even get him in on loan, because I think Newcastle are looking at a new number 1 goalkeeper. So if we get Pope for maybe 10 million quid or get him in on a loan, I'd get Melier out on loan at a top level club. So whether it be top level France, top level Germany, top level Italy, top level Spain, just get him that top level experience, and then bring him back, because by then he'll be 26, 27, and then let's see if Melier can cut it for Leeds United, if Leeds can sustain themselves in the Premier League. Because if Leeds can't and they get relegated, you bring Melier back in at that point. Because I still believe he can do a job for Leeds, especially at Championship level. He wasn't all bad. You take out those 3 errors that he made in the season, he was pretty good by and large for the rest of it. It was just 3 key errors that cocked him up, unfortunately. But he's played a lot of games for a relatively young goalkeeper. He's played over 200 games for Leeds. And he's 24. I mean, come on. It's a lot of games. So in some cases you expect a little bit more from Melier, a little bit better performance, a little bit more consistency. But for me, it's a bit of a left field move, but I still think there's a goalkeeper there. We bought him for 5 million, 6 million quid. It's a snip. And at the age he's at, there's room for improvement and there's time for him to get more experience. Loan him out, bring him back a better player after a season, after a confident season. You do that with Melier, I think that's the best thing you can do with him right now. And then bring him back to challenge whoever our number 1 ends up being. So there we have it, folks. So you see, we've not really been able to reduce the squad all that much. With those 6 departures for the upcoming season, that would leave us with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 players. That potentially leaves the door open for up to 10 new players to come in. Now, it's a lot of new players, but we need better quality. And that's why this is what it is. So there we have it, folks. That is that. That is my take on the squad. As I say, a lot of those greens for me are backups. I would say that in terms of starting the games, I wouldn't have an issue if Rodon or Strauch started, or if Ampadu or Tanaka started, or Dan James. I think if those guys are in the starting 11, they then need to be backed up by better quality around them. And then if your bench is Darlow or Cairns, Bogle and Byram, Schmidt, Gruev, Aronson, Nonto, Ramazani, Pirro, it's a decent bench. It's impact players that can come on and make a difference. But we need the additional quality. So I think that this would be a good balance. You don't want to shake things up too much, but you must get the quality in. Otherwise, we're going to get screwed. So there we have it, folks. So please give your thoughts in the comments down below. Let me know who you'd get rid of, who you'd keep, who you'd loan out of this bunch. As I say, the likes of Harrison, he'll be on the go, but the likes of like the likes of Gallagher and Greenwood will be on their way as well, I would imagine. But then, you know, the likes of Rothwell and Solomon, would you get those? Would you bring them back in permanently? Or even see if you can get loan spells for them again? I find that very unlikely. I think the two clubs would probably want to get rid of them now. Or sell them. Or maybe yeah, you know, probably sell them, you know, realistically. But would they do a job? You know, Rothwell's a fantastic set piece taker. Solomon, over 20 goal involvements. You know, fantastic season for Manor Solomon. So, you know, do you bring those two boys back? You know, Rothwell is going to be about 30. Can he keep up with the pace? Again, apologies for the ding dongs and buzzers that are going on there. You know, do they have? You know, does Joe Rothwell have that quality? And then Solomon has proven his fitness, you know, by getting through the majority of a championship season. But then, does he have the quality to play in the Premier League? That remains to be seen, of course, in a Leeds shirt at least. So there we have it, folks. Please give the video a like, hitting that thumbs up button, and do please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already as well. But big thank you for watching. Again, apologies for the dings and the buzzers. I will try and sort those out for the next video. But in the meantime, have a great night, folks. Thanks for watching, and I shall see you next time. Bye for now.